Hello, guys. Yeah, hello, guys. Let's go look new Reddit story.
As an American, how do you feel about the news that Germany, Denmark, and the UK have issued travel warnings for the United States? So, I woke up this morning, grabbed my coffee, and started scrolling through the news as usual. I saw the headline that Germany, Denmark, and the UK have issued travel warnings for Americans heading to the US. I don't know about you all, but this really struck me. It's crazy to see how things have shifted. I mean, growing up, I always heard about travel warnings for other countries facing political unrest or natural disasters. But seeing my own country on the receiving end of a travel warning from multiple countries at that feels like a slap in the face. It feels different. This isn't some isolated opinion either. It seems like the reactions are all over the place. I wanted to get a sense of how you all feel about this. Are you embarrassed? Concerned? Or are you just brushing it off because, hey, freedom and all that? Here's what I'm thinking. Okay, I'm gonna be real here. I'm a little shocked by this news. I've seen articles about the rising crime rates, the ongoing political divides, the mass shootings, and general instability, but I never thought the international community would catch on this fast. I understand why countries like Germany and Denmark, countries with stringent laws around things like gun violence and personal safety, would issue warnings. But when you think about it, these warnings are based on real concerns. The idea of getting shot while you're out walking, or even in your own home, doesn't seem like a reality most people outside the US have to deal with. It's almost like we've become the Wild West again, but in a modern, social media-driven world where people are more aware of it. We're living in a time when one mass shooting doesn't even make international headlines for a day before another one happens. To me, it's not just a warning about crime. It's a warning about the sheer unpredictability of living here. I think it's honestly kind of embarrassing. I know I can't speak for everyone, but I've spent years traveling and talking to people from all over the world. I always had this assumption that no matter how chaotic things got here, the US was still seen as this beacon of freedom and opportunity. And sure, we have our culture of freedom, but what's the point of being free if the consequences are a constant sense of fear? When countries like the UK, Germany, and Denmark say, hey, we don't think it's safe for you to visit this country right now, it's a major hit to national pride. You just have to look at the comments on news sites, Reddit, Twitter, etc. to see the international fallout. People are scared for us, and it feels uncomfortable. Honestly, I kind of get it. But at the same time, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. The media makes it seem like every corner of the US is a war zone. And sure, there are parts of this country that feel unsafe. But you have to remember that the US is so vast and diverse. There are places here that are just as peaceful and normal as anywhere else in the world. Yeah, there's gun violence, mass shootings, and other major issues, but not everywhere. In fact, I would argue that these travel warnings are overblown. If you're going to visit cities like New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles, there are risks, but these are the same risks you'd face visiting any major city anywhere in the world. Every place has its problems. I'm not saying we don't have work to do to improve things here, but I don't think the entire country should be lumped into one big danger zone. I hear you, but I can't ignore that feeling of being ashamed. The US is a major tourist destination, right? People come here for everything. The culture, the landmarks, the food, the opportunity to experience the American dream. It's supposed to be a place where you can go and have an adventure. But now, I can't help but feel like this warning is the final nail in the coffin when it comes to how people perceive us internationally. We've always had issues. We've always had divisions, problems with racism, inequality, violence, and politics. But now it feels like it's all coming to a head. Travel advisories like these only highlight how much the world is moving away from the idea that the US is still the land of opportunity. Instead, it's the land of confusion and danger. If I were in Germany right now, or Denmark, or the UK, I'd probably heed those warnings. And it hurts to think that. I think most Americans want to live in a country that others respect and look up to. But when international travel advisories like this come out, it feels like we're becoming the bad guy on the global stage. I'm not ashamed, but I'm definitely worried about where things are headed. It's one thing to see your country in decline from an internal perspective, but when other nations start taking steps to warn their citizens about it, you know things are bad. I can't even wrap my head around the idea of foreign governments telling their citizens, hey, be careful if you go to America. It might not be safe. In some ways, it feels like the US is becoming more insular. I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like we've lost sight of the values that made us strong in the first place. Things like unity, respect for life, and true freedom. Instead, it's like we're in this strange tug-of-war between right and left, freedom and fear, reality and delusion. I'm going to be real here. Part of me wishes the US would take a step back and look at what it's become. The violence, the mass shootings, the constant political chaos. The rest of the world sees it, and they're scared for us. Honestly, I don't blame them. I have lived in the US for my entire life, and I can say with full certainty that I never expected to see this day. When I was younger, we used to go on family vacations to different countries without giving it a second thought. Now I wouldn't feel comfortable traveling abroad as an American, and I don't think I'm alone in this feeling. When I read the warnings from Germany, Denmark, and the UK, it made me reflect on how the US used to be viewed. We were seen as a place of opportunity, of growth, and of hope. But now, I fear that we're becoming known for our instability, our disregard for basic safety, and the erosion of social trust. I've traveled the world, and you know what? Safety matters. It matters more than anything else. When I go to another country, I need to feel that my safety is guaranteed, that I can trust the local law enforcement, and that I won't be caught up in something beyond my control. Sadly, that feeling is slowly slipping away here in the US. I can only imagine what tourists from these countries must think. If I were traveling from Europe, I'd probably avoid the US at all costs right now. That breaks my heart to admit, but it's the truth. It's frustrating, to be honest, because I know the US has a lot to offer. I get it, we've got problems, but we're still a beacon of culture, history, and innovation. Yet here we are, the target of international concern. I mean, I can't remember the last time the US was this deeply criticized on the global stage. And let's not forget, a lot of this has to do with the systemic problems we've failed to address. Sure, we can point to the economy, the political system, or foreign relations. But when it comes down to it, the thing that's really worrying other countries is the violence that permeates so much of our daily lives. The fact that we've become so numb to it is terrifying. And it's no surprise that people in Germany, Denmark, and the UK are putting out travel warnings. They're worried for the safety of their citizens. Here's the thing, though. Yes, there are problems. Yes, we have serious issues, but I still believe in this country. I believe in the American people. Even with all the warnings and critiques from abroad, I think we're capable of turning things around. It's true that the US has some major issues, but this doesn't define us. It doesn't represent all of us. There's still so much goodness, so much potential. I don't know if the world will ever look at us the same way again. But what I do know is that we can't let fear, division, or shame be our defining characteristics. We've been through tough times before, and I believe we can get through this one too. But it's going to take all of us to recognize the problem, take action, and do better, not just for ourselves, but for the world watching us. After reading all these comments, I feel like this conversation needs to continue. Maybe we can't change everything overnight, but we can change how we approach our future. I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Do you think we can turn it around? Or is the world's opinion of us permanently changed?